Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new community call. I am very happy to see you. If you are looking at the recording, this is our call for September, and we will have a call every month. So we are looking forward for other calls. Let me start sharing my screen. So, can you see my slide? What is that? Oh, sorry. I don't know what happened. Can you, no.
Not yet.
Oh,
No,
okay,
yeah.
good. Can you see my slide now? It's
Yes.
in slideshow. And it's in
Yeah.
slideshow. Okay, so welcome to our community call. Just if you don't know, this is a new thing that we have started. This is our second community call in this format. We will have one every month, more or less, hopefully. And we want to talk everything about the community, cool projects are going on, how you can contribute. And also, if you have an idea of any topics you would like to see, we are very happy to hear what we would like to propose. So I will give you various links where you can add stuff. So, and if you have any ideas, feel free to add them. We are very happy to hear your ideas. So I just add here some links. So there is the event page, which is in our community portal. And there you can see I added links to YouTube and Airmo, so you can use both. But I also add a link to our moderation tool where you can add any questions. Then we have a Matrix room, which is in the Mozilla instance of Matrix, is our community room. If you have questions, comments, or would like to chat during this call with other Mozillian, there's the place to go. If you also have questions afterwards, you can add them in there, and we'll hopefully see them and answer them. And just a quick reminder, every channel I have mentioned, every physical or non-physical space, Mozilla space is governed by our code of conduct, our CPG. I put a link on where you can read it, and this is so because all our spaces are safe and comfortable for everyone. So I just introduce quickly for the call. There is me. My name is Francesca. I am a community manager in the community programs team, and I work for community engagement. Then this is Hillary, who is the co-host of the community call, and she is the community manager for the Awesome Common Voice program. And then there is Schalk, which is a community manager for MDN, and he is going to present today about the MDN project. Before I pass the word to Schalk, I wanted just to do a quick introduction about the Mozilla community in case you're new, and also to let you know some news of what's going on in the community. So as there's always something going on. So what is the Mozilla community? Mozilla community does a lot of different things in a lot of different areas. Everyone that loves the internet are welcome, and there is something different to do for everyone. Here I just mentioned 3 different projects, but their community can collaborate too, but there are many more. So one is the Awesome Hubs community. You really want to have a look at Hubs because I think it's a really, really cool project. Then there is the Common Voice project. Also very cool, very easy to contribute a little bit of your time if you want to record some sentences and donate a little bit of your voice. And then if you want to give feedback and ideas about Mozilla products, Firefox, but also other products, go to Mozilla Connect and you can add them there. And if you want to start exploring different things, please subscribe to our newsletter. We always, we will give you notice when there is another community call coming, but also when there is campaigns or other things you can do. That's one of the places where we put this news. So if you want to be informed, you can subscribe to that. You can check out our contribute page in the mozilla.org website, where there is kind of an overview of all the different ways in which you can contribute, and you can get to know other Mozillas in the Mozillians in Matrix. And just to give you what's going on at the moment, some quick news. There is the Mozilla Hub's Heart is in Residence program. I added a link there where you can see all the details. So if you are an artist or if you have artist friends, feel free to spread the word or to apply yourself if that's something you're interested in. Then we have the Firefox for Families campaign ongoing, and where we are calling on parents to share how you can participate. Is we are asking you if you're a parent or a person who look after a child, and or for example a teacher. We are asking you to share tips, short videos on how you keep your children safe online, and we will ask to share these tips with us so we can share them across social media and digital platform. There are a lot more details in the Discord post that I linked in this page. Is in the scores per Mozilla.org. It is called Take Part in the Firefox Families campaign, so it should be easy to find. Then there is the Break the Bias in Voice Tech competition of Common Voice, which start the 15th of September. You can also see a link for that there. Please go and check it out. And now I am going to pass the word to Schalk. Do you want me to stop sharing the sharing screen?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay, stop sharing.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome and thank you for joining us for this community call. So I think we'll start with, let me share my screen before I do anything further. No, yeah. All right. So you should probably see this slide as well now. So we can start by talking about MDN Web Docs just from a broad perspective. So MDN Web Docs is one of the largest open source projects out there, and it's specifically also on GitHub. We're in the top 30, not only largest, but most active open source projects. And MDN has a rich history where recently in late July, we celebrated our 17th birthday. So this is not a new project. This is a project with a lot of history. And in the last 2 or 3 years, there's been quite a lot of change with regards to how MDN is run and the technologies that powers MDN. For the longest time, MDN was basically a wiki. If you think Wikipedia, it was very much similar in nature. And while there was a lot of positives, there was also quite a few negatives, especially keeping content up to date and ensuring the quality of the content was challenging things that we were facing. We also had an infrastructure that was really old, and so that made it harder for people to contribute to maybe engineering related tasks, and it was also becoming a bit of a maintenance burden. And so in late 2019 or early 2019, I mix up those years, we transitioned to what is known as Jamstack. So essentially, it's basically like we have this project called Yari, and it generates static pages of all the documents that you see on MDN Web Docs. So this is all the reference docs, and it's also in, I think we now have 7 active locales that we've trimmed down the number of languages you support, simply because it is a daunting task for us. And so we have downgraded to about 7 languages. And these are communities like you that has really taken on the responsibility of maintaining the content and is doing just an amazing amount of work. But it's a lot of hard work. And so one of the things we did is we moved everything to GitHub. So the content is in GitHub, and all our project code is all open sourced on GitHub. And so we use a contribution model that is more familiar with people, which is the pull request model on GitHub. And we use Git as our source control system. Now, here's a couple of links here that I'll reference during the rest of this talk. The first 3 is going to be your starting point for the most part. The top one is just where you can read a little bit more about all the things that I've just mentioned. And the second two go basically to, let me just get the right tab. So this one goes basically to our guidelines. And we recently rewrote these. They aren't 100% done, but they're much better than what we had before. And so if you have any questions around community guidelines and things like how to contribute, what's open source etiquette, where you can discuss things with us about our Learn Forum, our pull request etiquette, all these kinds of things, this is where you go. If you want guidelines about how to write, if you want to contribute to the content, and also code examples, that is all under the writing guidelines. And these are really verbose and detailed. So, you know, pretty much any question you have, you'll find the answer here. If you don't, we do have support channels for you. One of those is, before I get to that one, is our discussions. Let me open that in a separate tab. So our discussions here, that is very, very active, and you are welcome here. We have different categories where you can open a discussion depending on what exactly you're talking about. If it's content, code examples, if it's something to do with the design, if it's something with the underlying platform, this is a place where you can ask questions, start discussions. If you have maybe an idea for a way we can improve something, this is where you will start. So let's head back to this. So those are the writing guidelines, the community docs, a little bit more about MDN. One of the other things we recently did is we created what we're calling the contributors task board. So this is a project board that gives you a view into areas where we need help. Now, this one is still in the early days. We are going through and triaging a bunch of issues on the various repositories that make up the MDN project. There's quite a lot. If I go here, you will see here it shows 124 repositories. That's a little more than it actually is because that includes archived repositories. I think active repositories, we're at roughly 60 or 65, but we're also whittling that down to and taking some of the smaller repositories and putting them in larger repositories that is more well-maintained so that we can keep our eyes on everything. But it's a big project with a lot of repositories. And so, where was I? So the community task board makes it easier for you to find tasks that we consider high value. So while we welcome any and all contributions, it is often a good idea for you to come and have a look here, and we try and organize them by specific topics. Like if you're interested in contributing to documentation, then these are the ones that's open. If it's more platform, currently there's nothing here, but there will be. And if you maybe want to help out reviewing existing pull requests, because we do get a lot of pull requests. So if you have knowledge in a specific area, like say HTML or CSS, JavaScript, you might be able to come and dive into some of the pull requests that are open and help us in reviewing these pull requests. And along that same line, if we see somebody join the community and start reviewing PRs and giving good feedback, we have a program we call Invited Experts. And basically what that is we invite you to join the MDN team as a volunteer, and we give you additional access to some of the repositories and allow you to be automatically assigned for your topic area to do pull request reviews. And it's a nice way to get something to be on your CD because people can see you're actively contributing to an open source project, especially one as large and well known as MDN Web Docs. And you get to experience working in a collaborative environment with a community of knowledgeable people. So there are many ways to contribute. And we also have a program called the Spotlight Contributor project. And that is basically once every month, we feature a new Spotlight contributor on the homepage of MDN and with a link through a more complete profile. I can probably show you one of the ones we have at the moment. No, not that one. Let's look here. So we have a new, today's the first, so we have a new Spotlight contributor called Mikal, who's done a whole bunch of stuff. And if you click through on his name, then there is a full page with him telling us a bit more about how he started using MDN, what he likes about the website, and why he contributes. So this is a nice way for you to also get some self-promotion. Like if you do work, this is a way of us to say thank you and give you, because there's about 17 million people that visit this site on a monthly basis. So, there's potential for a lot of people to potentially see you. And this links back through to your GitHub profile so they can see all the work that you've done for MDN. So it's like this mutually beneficial thing that we have. And we are constantly thinking of ways to make contributing to MDN a mutually beneficial thing for you as well as for us. So we also wanted to touch a little bit on accessibility, because the importance of accessibility has been recognized, and I'm very, very happy about that. It used to be a thing that was very tacked on at the end. It's unfortunately in some cases still the case, but there's a lot more conversations going on about this, and the tooling around testing accessibility and understanding how to test and how to use things such as screen readers have grown. And that's awesome. And so what we do on MDN is, first of all, we're documenting the web. So we document all the things that you need to know as a web developer. But what we do on some pages is we will have these sections called accessibility concerns. So if there is something specific about a specific ARIA role, which is in the case here, or maybe a specific input element or some HTML element or a CSS property styling thing that could potentially cause problems. For example, some of the animation stuff you can do with CSS. Not everybody does well with motion, and some people prefer not to have motion because it's distracting or it can trigger seizures or whatever if you're not careful. We will tell you that using this, be careful, because for some people, these are the accessibility concerns. And we'll also often couple that with a best practice, like you can see here. For example, on CSS, you have this ability to use a media selector called @prefers reduced motion. And if that is true, then the user has expressed their intent that they would prefer to not see motion. And you can then, in that block, you can turn off all animations. So that is a way that you're respecting the user's choice, and it's better for accessibility and user experience. So we have a lot of these sections, and we're going to expand on this. We have some invited experts. Scott O'Hara and Hida de Vries are two of them that have recently started getting really involved with this. So expect these accessibility concern areas to grow on more and more pages. But again, this is an opportunity for you to contribute. If you're somebody that's passionate about accessibility and you have knowledge in this area, and you find a page that you feel there is something we need to call out specifically, you are more than welcome to go to the end of this page and then hit edit on GitHub. And you can make your contribution to this page and suggest that maybe we need an accessibility concerns area, and this is what you think we should call, and maybe this is a best practice for how to avoid any potential problems. So yet again, another way that you can contribute to MDN. And with that, that leads me into the section where we're going to do some hands-on contribution to MDN. So funnily enough, oops, I have one of these floating dudes in the way.
Yes, Schalk, I just have a look if there are any questions on this. And
yeah, sure.
So I think I just see one question in this slide. So is there a topic missing in English? Do you recommend people create them directly? If there is a topic missing in English, do you recommend people create them directly on translated report, or should we always write the English first?
So if the page is missing from the English content as well, because that's your first stop, right? If you, for example, browse in French and there is a link, because what we do is if a link doesn't have a destination, like the destination will be a 404, we underline it with a little squiggly red line. And if you hover over it, it'll tell you that this page has not been written yet. And it'll tell you like you can contribute on GitHub. But first stop is to go to the English content. So to go to the /content repository and see if that page exists there. If it does, that would be your starting point. take that page and create a copy of it in the translated content in the exact same space, and then translate the content from English to the language that you're working on. I guess there might be some instances where we create new content in the English one that isn't automatically reflected in translated content. So that is instances where you can run into the situation. So yes, you would start with the English content, copy that into your translated content for your language. If I quickly, let me see, so if we go here, translated content. So inside files, here are the languages that are the active languages that we currently support. So if there was if it was Spanish and there was something missing, you would go to wherever it needs to be. Maybe it's something with one of the new Firefox releases that is missing from here. And you can go ahead and then copy the English content into this folder and then translate it to your language. And how you go about the translation is completely up to you. You can like run automated translation over it and then improve it, or you can just do everything by hand. But yeah, that is basically what you will do. I hope that answers the question.
We didn't have another question, but Rafael wrote in the YouTube chat and saying, hello, everyone. Rafael from MDN PT Brazil, so it's Brazilian Portuguese. And they say,
very well.
Say, keep up the good work, folks. Glad to be here. So thank you very much for the work, Rafael.
Welcome, Rafael.
And now I'll let you go on with your hands-on demonstration.
Okay, cool. So funnily enough, we have a project that, so one of our biggest partners is Open Web Docs. Let me quickly find them so I can also add them. It's an open source nonprofit that is funded by various of the tech companies such as Google, Microsoft, Meta, and a bunch of other people. I'll put a link to this in here. They're one of our biggest partners in ensuring that the content of MDN is up to date and quality. They do a lot of pull request reviews. They do a lot of writing. Yeah, they're a great bunch of folks. And they are key to the success of MDN. So let me just link this up real quick. Alrighty, oops. See, there's an accessibility thing. That color contrast wouldn't work, so we need to make the link color darker so that people can clearly see what it is. Okay, so, and one of the people that is part of Open Web Docs called Estelle, she started this project where basically we have identified a number of images on MDN Web Docs that doesn't have alt text. Now, this is an accessibility thing. When you use an image on a page, you have to ask yourself the question, is this image purely decorative or does it convey information? If it's purely decorative, you want to use the alt attribute with an empty string. What that does is a screen reader will see that and it will say, oh, this is decorative, I'm going to ignore it. And it will not even announce the presence of the image on the page. Because the last thing you want is for a screen reader to say, image of, and then nothing. Because then that doesn't help you. Now you know that there's an image, but you have no idea what it is. Is it important? Should I know about it? So you put alt with an empty string and then the screen reader will ignore it. But now, if you've asked yourself the question, is this purely decorative? And the answer is no. Okay, now you need to ask yourself the second question. Is the alt attribute the appropriate thing to do here or not? Now, how are you going to decide this depends on the image. Now, if we go to this page, so here are two images that does not have alt. It's these two that I've put my name against here. So that is what you'll do with, I believe I linked this in here. Yes, here is a link in the slide to this spreadsheet. And so the spreadsheet contains the page where the problem is, links to the images, and the line numbers in the actual content page where you'll find this image. And we'll get to all of that in a second. So the first thing is, once you've identified one of these that's not done and doesn't have anybody assigned, you can go ahead and add your GitHub username here. I haven't linked mine up, but preferably that's what you'll do. You'll add a link to your actual GitHub profile in here. And your next step is then to have a look at the images. So these two, they do have quite a bit of context provided right here. So you could say maybe, because that's the other thing. If there's enough descriptive text leading up to the image, then you might actually say that I should actually mark this as decorative because it doesn't convey any additional information. If the user has read this, they've understood what this image is trying to convey. In this case, I think it might be worth it to add an alt attribute to this one. And I chose an alt because the rule with alt is you have to be short and concise. It's almost like Twitter used to be 140 characters max. It's like that's roughly the limit that you want when you use like an alt attribute. If you feel the need to use that you need more words, more characters, then you have to reevaluate. You have two options. The first option is have text leading up to it that conveys all the information so that the image essentially becomes decorative and is only there for people with that can see the image, but if you can't see it, you won't lose context. The other option is to use the figure element along with the fig caption element, because now in your fig caption, you can be a little bit more verbose about how you describe what is in the image. That is often useful, like if you have an image that is quite detailed, maybe you need to describe what's happening in a bar chart or something like that. Often, fig caption is going to be a much better option than using an alt attribute. For this one, we can say the alt can be something like Firefox DevTools Network Monitor showing a list of files with, how can we put this, with a timeline. Yeah, in a timeline form, something like that. We'll wordsmith it in a second. But that's kind of short and concise enough that an alt attribute will be fine for this. So, okay, now what do we do next? We know kind of what we want to do. We've solved the problem. We've talked through it in our head and we kind of know what to do. Okay, cool. What do we want to do next is we want to head over to the content repo. By the way, I'm using Command K in GitHub, which brings up a command palette. And it allows you all these nice little shortcuts, like if you want to jump to different repos, so you put the org, and then you can put the repo, and then you just hit enter, and it jumps there. So first thing we want to do is we want to create an issue. So we're going to go to the Issues tab, and then we're going to hit New Issue. Now this is going to present you with a couple of options here. Is this a context issue? Is this a Firefox release issue? Is this new content suggestion? Or there's a one right at the bottom, and this one you'll never use. This is a issue template that is used for people that, I don't have a, yes I do, that use this link here, report a problem with this content. When you click this, it'll go to GitHub and it'll open, you can see here, it opened up that issue template, and it has some stuff pre-filled that is useful to us to help diagnose the problem. So if you manually create an issue like we're going to do now, you won't actually use that one. And for us, it's a content issue, right? It's a problem. There's a missing alt attribute. So we're going to hit get started over there. And then here we have to give it a title. Now, let's call it a chore. And then we're going to say add missing alt to, let's see, network monitor. Oops. Network monitor image. Okay. Then we'll grab the link of the spreadsheet. And okay, we have the URL actually in here. Copy that. Down there. Specific section. So it is this network tool. So I clicked on it and I'm going to copy the URL from the URL bar. Stick it in there. So here we can say the Have a look here real quick. Copy that. Network Mario ping image is missing an alt attribute. And we expected the image to have a short descriptive alt, to have short descriptive alt text. I mean, for supporting links and that, we can use the spreadsheet. And there's not really anything else we need to share. So we're good. So we can hit submit new issue. A couple of things are going to happen now. We have a thing that GitHub does is it auto assigns issues, and it auto label. It doesn't auto assign, it auto labels. So I think by the time I refresh now, it might have added. So you can see it's added a thing called needs triage. This is a signal to us, the MDN team, as well as OWD and some of our other core contributors, that this is an issue that nobody's looked at yet. And so we need to have a look and see if it's something that we need to address immediately or if we want to label it differently. So I'm going to triage my own issue now. So I'm going to put that. I have a feeling. Let's see. So I'm going to say content accessibility. And I'm going to, you will not be able to do this part necessarily, assigning it to yourself. So what I would recommend you do is once you've created it, add a comment, and you can add MDN, I believe it is, yeah. So at MDN community engagement, MDN-community-engagement, you can mention us, and that will send a notification to myself as well as the 3 of our technical writers and tell us that somebody has mentioned us. So you can do that and say, I would like to work on this issue. Can you please assign it to me? And we will then do exactly that, unless for some reason, like we want to first discuss it or whatever the case may be. So that is a good practice to generally follow if you create an issue and you're interested in working on it. For me, I'm going to assign it to myself. Again, we'll do this part of it, putting it on our projects. And what we'll do if it's a community member, so that we can see and that we acknowledge you, is we'll add a community label if our community works on it. That's a nice way that we can surface how much community contributions we're getting. And it's also a way to signal all the great work that comes in from the community. So with that, the issue is ready. So now we need to do the work. Okay, so I'm going to actually do this one using just the GitHub UI. So the first thing we want to do is we want to create a branch, but I'm not going to do it via this link. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat a little bit, is it generates such nice little branch names for you that I often use this like a little cheat code. I click on it and I just like copy the branch name. Now I don't have to remember the number and I don't have to remember any of that. So what we now want to do is we want to go find the file that we want to make the change in. So if we go here and we have a look at the page, the slug or the URL, it says learn performance, measuring performance. Okay, so this gives us a hint as to where it is in the content repo. So if we go back, go into files, remember, just like in translated content, files, but here instead of having a bunch of different languages, it only contains ENUS. So you want to go in there. Now it says learn, okay. So there's a learn. The next thing it says is performance, okay. Performance, there it is. And then it says measuring performance, okay. Measuring. So there's measuring performance. And now here we can see as an index.md and then a couple of images. Now, these are the images that we're seeing on the page, right? It's these 2, and I think there's one, and there's another one. So those are the 4 images, but we don't have to be concerned with them because we're not going to change them. What we want to change is this little guy, index.md. Now, This is just like a render, like GitHub doing its best at trying to render this. But if you click over there, it's going to show you the source code. Now, if we go back to the spreadsheet, you'll see it says line 90. So, okay. No, I've lost. There we go. Line 90. And indeed, there's the image. And now you can see here's a little, looks like an empty array, but this is marked out notation for how you link an image. So in the parentheses, which is the open and closing little half round symbols, is the name of the image, and it's relative. So this says it's in the same folder. And what's inside the brackets, that's the alt text. So we can see, indeed, the alt text is empty. We can also see that for the next image, the alt text is empty. Okay, so we want to fix that. Now, scroll back up and you'll see this little edit this file. So we click that. If you don't have a fork of this project, at this point, GitHub will ask you if you want to fork it. You want to say yes. You want to, in the pop-up that'll be there, you want to choose your username as the owner, and that's it. The rest you can leave as default, and then you'll hit create fork, and it'll show you a nice animation. Once it's done, you'll see the same view. It might throw you back to the root of your fork of the repository. Just quickly dig in back into learn performance, measuring performance, and you'll find your file again. Usually it does a good job of taking you where you were last time. So again, we're going to look for line 90. And there it is. Okay. So let's think about it again. Where is the page? There it is. Okay. So we said, so if we read here, it says most browsers have tools available that you can use to run against loaded pages and determine how they are performing. For example, the Firefox Network Monitor. Okay, so that's our first key, that this screenshot is of the Firefox Network Monitor. Returns detailed information on all the assets downloaded from the network. We can also fix a little typo there while we're at it. From the network, along with a time graph that shows how long each took to download. Okay, so here's an important thing. You'll be tempted to start your sentence with image of the Firefox. Don't bother with the image of the. Screen readers will do this by default. So if you put that in your alt text, the screen reader is going to say, image of the Firefox network. So leave that part out and start with Firefox network monitor demonstrating assets loading. Let's say showing instead, maybe. Showing a list of assets that has loaded, as well as, I'm kind of running out of characters, but I think I can do it. Showing a list of assets that has loaded, as well as load time per asset. That's pushing it for an alt, but we'll let this one slide. Maybe during review, somebody will have a better, that's the nice thing about Purika's reviews, is other people get to also look and make suggestions. So somebody else might be able to wordsmith this and shorten it while still giving this time. Now I'm looking for that typo that we have. You can also use to measure the performance of a web website using interface as you perform different actions. This indicates features might slow down your web. Oh, haha, I put it in the wrong image. Okay. It's that one. Okay. Firefox returns detail on all downloaded from the network. Okay, neat. So we've done our alt tag. We've fixed the typo, so we get bonus points. And now we need to open a pull request. So at the bottom of this, there's these two fields. This is the subject or title of your pull request, and this is where you provide more information. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the whole chore thing again. And then we're going to say, well, we can basically use what our issue said. So what did our issue say? I think I closed it. Let me, I think I don't. Add missing alt text for network performance. Is that what it was? Network monitor image. Okay, see, I almost ran out of characters there, and GitHub is telling me, hey, watch out, maybe you should put that in the description. Okay, so I'm going to almost repeat myself here. Let me copy that, save myself some typing. So, alt text for the network monitor image. Also fixes a small typo. Now, here's another important thing. If we, let me just go here. Content. Okay. Now, if you have a look at the issue, it has an issue number, which is here. You'll also find it in the URL over there. Now, if you copy that, and inside the description of your pull request, you're going to put fix hash, and you're going to put the number. Now, what this does is it links this pull request to the issue that you opened before. But what it also does is once this pull request has been reviewed and merged, GitHub will automatically close the issue. And it'll say something like closed by, and it will link back to the pull request. Now, here it gives you two options. It says commit directly to the main branch or create a new branch. Now, a lot of people that work on just their own little side projects, they just commit straight to main and whatever. But when you work in this collaborative kind of environment, you want to follow the process which is known as feature branches. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to create a feature branch. And the general pattern we follow on MDN, which is followed on a lot of other open source projects. So, learning it here is going to help you if you contribute to other projects as well, is we put in the issue number 20212, chore, add missing alt network monitor. Oh, actually, let's use the page name here. Measuring performance. Measuring performance. Okay. So when Git creates a branch, sorry, it creates kind of a copy of what's in main, and it splits it off. And it keeps this connection between these two, but now you can diverge. Over here in this feature branch you're working, you're diverging from what is in main. So once I click propose changes, it's creating this branch, and we're diverging a little bit here. So, because now we have stuff in our branch that doesn't exist in main. So here is a bunch of stuff that we ask you for, like in a sentence or two, describe your changes. We've already done that. Motivation, we're linking to the issues, so that provides the motivation for it. The issue also contains supporting details. Related issue, we've done that over here. And then here's some meta info that you can add. So as a new document, so we can choose this last one. And what we'll do is we'll go in here, we'll paste it. Oops, we'll paste it below. There we go. And then we'll just put a little X in there. So that you'll see in a second, that's going to create a checkbox. That is then checked, and I'll just go ahead and delete all the rest of this. I'm going to label this again as accessibility. Well, and I'm gonna, again, you'll probably want to have, you might not have access to create labels. Don't worry about that. You probably won't also be able to add it where this floating panel is in the way. To add it to a project, don't worry about that. And this time, the thing I said previously comes into play. So under the reviewers, you can see already it says the Yari content MDN. So we have auto assignment. So when you open a pull request, it's going to automatically assign somebody to review your pull request. So but now if we scroll down, we can have a look at what we're proposing. So the first thing we're proposing is that download from the network should probably be from the network. And we're adding alt text to the network monitor image. Great. That's exactly what we wanted. So we can scroll back up and we can hit create pull request. So now you can see here's the little thing that we did and it's checked. So the one task that we had to do, we've done that. We've linked back here. So if you hover over here, you can see chore add missing. So it's linking correctly. And Brian Smith has been assigned to review this pull request. So he will now get a notification telling him that I've just opened a pull request and I want him to review it. And so he'll come back to me and he might suggest some better wording for this alt attribute, or he might just be like, yeah, this is cool, and merge it. And then what happens is like this divergent branch that we've had, the Git is going to take that and it's going to merge it into main. And then we're going to delete this branch because we have no need for it anymore. You would also now see that our auto labeling has picked up that this is on the learn area. If you remember the folder structure, it was learn, blah. So it's added that label so that we also know. And that's also a way that it picks up who to assign, because we have this thing called the code owners file. And so we say for files in this directory, these are the code owners. So when you assign somebody for review, choose one of these people to assign for that review. And that is it. Like, I didn't need to open a terminal. I didn't need to clone anything. I didn't need to do very much other than just use basic forums and things that you would use on the web every day. And through that, I've made a contribution to one of the largest open source projects on the web. I'm adding an alt attribute that is going to help somebody that uses a screen reader. And I'm getting something that I can point people to and say, hey, look at this. I did this. I made this improvement to this big project that 17 million people a month views. I think that's really exciting. And I think it's really great that we've gone to this whole model of working on GitHub and having this collaborative space where things are just easy to do. So with that, I'm going to end all my talking and hand it over to any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Schalk. I really admire how you could jump from tabs to tabs without not really losing your way. I would have gone, oh, no, not here, a lot longer.
Let me show you something that just happened. Brian has approved, and he said, very cool, thanks for your additions. And that means Brian is going to merge this pull request, and it's going to end up in main. And tonight, when we do a build, tomorrow, you'll see my changes. Well, you'll see the typo change, and screen readers will notice that, hey, now they understand what this image in this page is for. So as quick as that, it's been reviewed and approved.
Great. So I saw we already had the question from Slido. I hope that's the right way to pronounce that. But I think you already answered that. But I see there are a couple of questions in Matrix and a couple of comments also in the YouTube chat. So as someone, Davis Flores asking what is the resolution to upload images of example, but actually someone in the chat already answered with around 1000 pixels. Do you have any comments on that?
Can you just repeat that question?
So someone in the chat asked, what's the resolution to upload images or examples? And someone, Grey Wolf, answered 1000 pixels.
Okay. If Grey Wolf says that, then that's accurate. He's one of the core localization folks, so he will have done this. If that's his feedback, then I would not go against it.
And then there is someone to say the @shoutouts do not work in PR comments for non-members. For example, MDN localization team leads. I mean, for the group, shoutouts individuals do work for everyone. I think that's a comment of something that is an issue.
Oh, interesting. So they're saying that, for example, where I said at MDN / community something, people who aren't members can't do that?
Do not work in PR comment for non-members. I suppose that's what he's saying. If the person that put the question in the chat want to clarify, that will be great.
No, sorry, my headphones ran out of power. That's why I took my headphones off. I wonder. I don't have a.
Oh, did I say yes? No. Okay.
I think what I mean is, like I said, you can do MDN and then you can do like this. I'm thinking they're saying if you're not a member, you can't do that. If you're, I'm guessing they mean if you're not a member of the MDN org, you can't do that.
Oh, it's a my shout out to @MDN/localization team leads didn't work. Apparently that was the issue.
Yeah. So it's the same thing. That's interesting. Okay, I will have to have a look at that because that should work, because that is a way, that might be why we sometimes have issues where people have made comments and that we missed. It might be that they couldn't mention us. So we'll have to have a look at that. Thank you for highlighting that.
And then Irvin in Matrix say, can we add a short, fast brief of now translated content repo workflow later after this? Example given where to open issue from translated document, PR will be auto test, then volunteer for local team will review it, will go live in a few days after merge. I am copy pasting the question in the chat.
I understand the question. I believe they basically want to know if we can provide a short, yeah, exactly. Like kind of like a bullet point step, like this is the steps that you follow to make a contribution. Yes, and I'm also recording little videos that we'll share that, like what I did now. I'll do that for other types of contributions as well, so that you literally have a video that you can follow, but it'll have a transcript as well. So if you prefer to read and follow the steps like that, that'll be available too.
Great. I don't see another question, but I do have a question. When someone, for example, wants to start contributing to MDN and obviously we start asking for a bit of help, what we'll do is like kind of the journey of a person who wants to start contributing to MDN, and where do you advise and they go ask for help?
So I would say start with the contribution docs, because that gives you an overview of the repositories and how we work and all of that kind of stuff. It also has links to related information. Having a look at that task board, that's a good place to start, because there you're picking up issues that is high value. Then if you need help, we have the links are in the little slide. You can go on Matrix. We have a MDN Web Docs channel there. We have a space on Discourse. The one on Discourse is especially useful for the Learn area on MDN. The Learn area, a lot of it has these assessments at the bottom. And so if you need help with your assessment, or you just want somebody else to have a look at your assessment and tell you if you've missed anything, if you could do something better, or you're struggling, that is a good place. It's mainly community run, but it's super active and really, really good. So if you're doing any of the assessments, you need help, that's your best place to go. For general support on code that doesn't quite work and you don't quite understand, Stack Overflow is going to be one of the best places to go. And then another place that you can also not so much ask for help, but provide feedback or ask questions about specific topics is the MDN discussions repo on GitHub that I've also linked in the slide. And then we are busy setting up a Discord server at the moment. And in the next 2-3 months, we'll be launching the Discord server. So that will be another place where people can then interact. And then, of course, we have quite an active presence on Twitter. So you can always add MozDevNet and post a question. We often get people that say, oh, on this page and this thing or that thing is broken. And that's useful because we can see that and we can guide you towards raising an issue, or we can tell you if we are aware of this and are working on it and link you to the issue or the pull request so that you know that this problem you're experiencing is acknowledged and is being fixed.
We have another question from the chat. I added from YouTube. I added in the chat. What do you think is the advantage of collaborating on MDN projects? The main advantage of collaborating on MDN projects?
I think it's two things. I think one is learning, just learning something new. Because oftentimes when we start to learn, if you're new to web development, for example, now you learn all this stuff, but you have nowhere to use it. And that often is not the best learning experience. For me personally, I like to do stuff. Like when I learn something new, I'll find a project that I can either create myself or contribute to that uses the technology that I'm learning. Because then I feel like I can do the things and then it sticks in my brain better. So that's the one thing. If you're learning web development, like start reading the MDN docs, like for HTML or JavaScript or CSS. And when you run into a thing which you find like, oh, I think we can do this better, or this is really unclear, and if you worded it this way, I would have better understood it. That is a starting point. Click the link at the bottom of the page and report an issue and say, I'm learning this and I've read through this and I couldn't quite understand it, but then maybe I read on this other resource and they really explained it well, and it would be great if you could reword it in this manner. And hey, we'll look at that. We'll say, very good suggestion, and we'll give you the option of making the contribution yourself, or we can make the change if you prefer. So that's the one thing. It gives you an opportunity to use your skills on an actual project that you can see in the real world. Like if you've made a change, it gets deployed to production and you and everybody else that uses MDN sees it. And the other thing is the collaborative nature of it, right? You get to work with other people. You get to feel what it's like to work on a project. A lot of new people, that's the one thing they miss. They have a breadth of knowledge, but they don't have the experience of working with others. They don't know how, like, okay, now I've raised an issue, now what? Okay, if I open a pull request, what's the next step? Okay, if somebody's giving me feedback on a pull request, how do I change my pull request to take their suggestions on? I don't know. And we can provide guidance there. So there again, you learn about working collaboratively, and that is essential if you want to start your own business or if you want to go work for a company. You need experience working with people because inevitably that is what you're going to do. So you're learning to code, you're contributing to an open source project that is dependent on millions of people, literally, and you get to learn how to work in a collaborative environment. So I think all of those things are benefits. And you can put this on your CV and you can point to it. You can literally put links in your CV to your contributions that you've made to MDN. And people can literally see two things. They can see you know about, let's say, JavaScript, because they can see the code that you've contributed, but they can also at the same time see that you're able to work with others. You can interact with people, you can take feedback, you can maybe push back if you don't quite agree, and you can come to a conclusion and land a piece of work. That to an employer means a lot. So I think you can put it in your CV and help you get a job.
Thank you very much. I don't see any more questions, but let me have more of a look. I don't think I see any more questions. Hilary, if you see any more, let me know.
I haven't yet. If not, if people do have questions, can they ask in the community chat or where that people could ask for MDN?
Yeah, they can, like again, in the slide that I have, there's a link to our Matrix channel on like where they're now, but there's one specifically for MDN. And I would recommend asking questions there because there's other community members and other people like the people from Open Web Docs, for example, and colleagues of mine are all active on there. So, you know, even if I'm not around, there'll be other people that'll be able to answer your question.
Great, thank you very much. So if you're watching this as a recording, go to the MDN Matrix room to ask questions. If you're interested about participating in the Mozilla community more in general, go to the Mozilla community room And there are also very active community members. There are also various community managers that will be happy to guide you. So go there and don't be shy, ask any question you have. So we are at the time. So I want to thank Schalk for coming, thank Hilary, and thank you, Andy, as usual, for all the support, for making this course possible. And as I say, if you have any topics, please let us know. And I'll hopefully see you next month. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.